All right, one of the things we have to do in the world today is we have to primarily understand the three monotheistic religions of the world. Out of the nearly 7 billion people that populate this planet, there are three major monotheistic religions. Mono meaning one, theistic meaning God, a belief in one God. And those three monotheistic religions are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Now, first of all, before we go any further, what is a religion? Let's get on the same page with that. A religion, by definition, is an organized set of beliefs. It is a system in which a set of beliefs can operate and be experienced. And in that system, we call that a religion. We need the word religion. We need a system in which to ascertain our beliefs and evaluate them and discern them in light of other things. So most all three monotheistic religions have this system, and they all have something in common. The world today is talking about what these three religions have and their differences, but very few are talking about what these three religions have in common. Most religions, and these included, have some sort of confession. There is this confession of their God. Judaism, Christianity, Islam confess their God. That's a very common thing to verbalize that. In Judaism, you see this in the Shema, Deuteronomy chapter 6, in the Old Testament. It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." They confess their God. They speak him out and define who he is. In the Christian circles, Acts 16 and 31, confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, you will be saved, you and your household. We have a confession, and so does Islam. We'll get to that in a moment. The second thing that you notice about these three religions is they all incorporate prayer. So there's a lot more overlap than we actually realize. They pray. Jews pray, Christians pray, Muslims pray each to their God. The third thing is giving. All three religions incorporate into their religious system giving. The Jews in the Old Testament talk about the tithe, the fellowship offerings, the first fruits. You get to the New Testament, you're talking about Jesus basically said, give your whole life. There is generosity. The Sermon on the Mount highlights what? Three core principles of a follower of Christ, not unlike Muslims and not unlike Jews. Disciples give, and they fast, and they pray. Give, fast, and pray. So that's it. So you have the confession, you have prayer, you have giving or alms for the poor, then you have fasting. All three religions incorporate fasting, this abstaining from things of the flesh and the world to better understand God and to fellowship with him. And the last one is movement. I call it movement. Christians have movement in the New Testament. Go out into all the world and preach the gospel, Mark 16 and 15. Or you'll be my witnesses here in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth. Christianity is full of outward movement. Abraham was all about movement. Go to the promised land, the land that I will show you, the land flowing with milk and honey. There's a lot of movement in Judaism and Christianity and in Islam as well. Now, all that I've talked to you about thus far, all three monotheistic religions have in common. Islam has formalized theirs, and we know their commonality to the other religions known as the 5 pillars of Islam. The confession that Allah is God and that Muhammad is the supreme prophet. That's their first pillar. The second pillar is that they are about praying 5 times a day. They pray just like Jews and like Christians. The third thing is almsgiving. 2.5% of the first 1% of their income is to go to the poor, and then they have free will offerings at the mosques. So they incorporate those three things just like the other two religions. Ramadan is a time of fasting from sun up to sundown for an entire month, celebrating the revelation of the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. We'll talk about him more in a moment. And the last movement aspect of Islam is the pilgrimage or the Hajj, the once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage to Mecca. A Muslim, to secure salvation and eternal life, must go to Mecca once in his lifetime, walk around the Kaaba stone, and fulfill that pilgrimage. There's your 5 pillars of Islam. So far, that monotheistic religion is not that different than Christianity, and certainly not that different than Judaism. The point we have to make here to start out with, if we truly want to understand one another's beliefs, and to respect one another, and to understand one another, and to interact with one another with gentleness and respect, we have to know that we have a great deal in common. Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. A great deal of overlap.